You're listening to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Well, it's like when we audit the mod with Mogic and give them the action items that they're going to use to lower their total cost of risk.
Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Technology is not an expense, it's an investment. Look at what ThinkHR has done for our clients and even our team. It's an amazing product, and I'm so thankful we have that.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Things are changing for us in 2021. Not all big business anymore. Now that we have CoverWallet on our team, it's amazing that we're going to be able to write small business profitably.
This is Power Producers Shop Talk. Production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we're redefining the sales game. Today we are back with one of my favorite LinkedIn follows, who should be one of yours as well, Ms. Crystal Ware. Crystal, the floor is yours.
Thanks for having us back. Hey, I remember that one of the things that we were talking about last time was, what motivated us to get started. And I didn't have an opportunity to ask you, but I was going to follow up with it this time to lead us off, is, do you see that your wife's success drives you to compete harder and build, something really bigger and tangible?
Oh, I have to. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford her. All kidding aside, my wife is an absolute animal. Like she gets after it. She is very good at her job.
Same.
Kyle, funny enough, Kyle and I are both married to alpha males in female bodies.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
But I mean, they are probably very, very similar in terms of the cloth that they're cut from. And I don't think that that's an accident, but I mean, it's kind of funny. My ultimate goal, truthfully, is for my wife to quit her job and come be a producer. And she actually has interest in doing
Really?
that.
I was going to ask if she would be down for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, she does. And she would be deadly. She would be better than me. So I might not allow that to happen. But no, but I mean, I really think she would do very, very well with it. She's got the right skill set. She's a good educator. She's very patient in teaching people, and I'm not. I mean, I am at the point of sale, but she would be wildly successful. So yes, her success motivates me to push myself harder. In the honest to God motivation behind that is I want to get to a point, and we're there's no probably. We're there right now. I want her to be able to leave her job so that she doesn't have to work. She can enjoy her kids while they're still young. I don't expect her to stay at home. That's up to her as to whether or not she wants to do that. But she has actually, mentioned it to me a couple of different times about what it would be like for her to get her license and come out and produce. And if she did, she'd kill it. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. So my motivation is to get us to a position where that can happen. And only because I know that the agency will get that much more ridiculous when she's throwing business in the hopper.
Yeah, and that's my husband is very successful, and I'm just a competitive person. I mean, our household, and we have 3 sons, it's like competition over anything and everything you could think of. And that's what I just look at. I know people think, well, why are you doing this? Your husband has a great job. You had a great job before. What are you doing? But in the back of my mind, and I tell my husband, I'm like, yeah, because I'm gonna out earn you at some point. And he just smiles and says, I would love
hope you
for
do.
you too.
I hope you do. Yeah, right. Exactly.
As much of an alpha male as he is too, he is so supportive and so happy, and he would never feel bad if I out earn. He would be very proud. He would be, probably with a sign telling everybody, my wife is a super success. It's a tall task, but that is really that little seed is what drives me. And it's just interesting because, you guys have successful wives too. And in an industry that's kind of male dominated, to see that you guys are, killing it with extremely successful wives on the other side as well. So I find that fascinating.
Well, I mean, I think I'm not going to speak for Kyle, but I can speak.
You do all the time. Go ahead.
But I think that if Kyle's wife wasn't in the position that she's in, Kyle wouldn't be at Florida Risk. He wouldn't have been able to make the financial decision because I couldn't afford to pay him a lot when I brought him on.
Right.
That was established up front. I'm like, listen, man, if you're willing to bet, I'm almost 100% sure. When I had that conversation with him, I think I said, if you're willing to bet on yourself, I'll give you a golden opportunity, but you got to understand, here's where I'm at. And as long as you're cool with that and you know that you have my undying support.
Right.
Then
And it was that,
great.
it was that. And it was also, if you can, put your trust in me and be patient and know that I'm going to get you to where you need to be, then I think we can do something special. And I mean, and I did, and that was a huge part of it. But yes, you're right. Like if Elise wasn't, in the position that she was, that would have made that a little bit harder. I don't know that it would have changed my decision, but it would have, I didn't have to do too much thinking. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it made it very easy, or much easier for you to make that decision.
Yeah. Right.
So you guys talked about, both of your wives could do so well in this industry. And I mean, I do know some pretty successful ladies in insurance, but they are kind of few and far between. What do you see in your wives that make you think they would be so successful in insurance?
For me, it's what we've just talked about and what you talked about, the competitiveness or competitive edge. Like, my wife wants to win everything, and it's not even like so she just won, for example, so she manages a team at ADP. So she's got like anywhere between 8 and like 14 reps on her team at a given point in time. And she used to be in the field selling. Now she doesn't do that. She just goes on meetings and helps her team sell and manages this team. But she just qualified for this trip, this contest that they do at the beginning of their fiscal. It's called like Hot Starts or something or whatever. So they've got to hit these metrics, and she was one of only 2 like managers in the region to qualify for it. And the trip is to Napa, and we've never been, and we've talked about going there and doing the wine tours and all that kind of stuff with all the vineyards because it would be cool. But it wasn't like she didn't really care about. She just wanted to literally win and qualify for it. She had such like this. She was like getting. She turns into like this monster of like just gets so stressed out because she wants so bad to qualify for these things. Doesn't care about the trip. Doesn't care about the reward that comes from it.
It is never the trip.
No, and it's like
it's the name. It's like I won.
Yes.
What did you win? I don't know.
Yes. She had so much fear because she qualified for President's Cup when she was a rep. Her manager like told her ahead of, she's like, you're in. They did this like the whole recognition thing for her, and then they did like the final tally, and it ended up that he was wrong and made a mistake.
Didn't she miss by like just a few bucks?
It was stupid. It was the dumbest thing, and it's like if you're ADP, you have to like you got to swallow that and just what is it, $2,000? Like, come on, give me a break. But anyways, like she was so embarrassed by that, and leading into this new this other competition. She was just in so much fear. Like if that happened again, she wouldn't be able to. So she was she was working ridiculously, like, 7, 8 o'clock at night, trying to get stuff in and done. And I mean, I give her credit. Like, I mean, she whenever, any time that I've known her, since the beginning of time, she has been like just so driven, and she would crush me at when we worked, at selling the office supplies together, like on a weekly basis.
Legitimate question too. Did she play sports growing up?
Absolutely, and I think that has a big part of it. And I think
it has a massive part of it because
she played
my
football.
wife. Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
Right. She played football. I mean, she did all the sports and everything growing up. But I think that is a huge aspect of things that sometimes people don't really put as much weight on. But it's
huge.
Right.
It's absolutely huge. I think it's the reason that I'm as competitive as I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why my wife is as competitive as she is. She played soccer at a very high level, traveled all around the world playing soccer.
Wow.
And,
she's a tall soccer player.
She is, and not a goalie, a defenseman. And you should
really?
hear her. You should hear her Jersey mother recant the stories of running down the sidelines when Andrea had the ball, and she'll say, "I'd give anything for one more time to see Annie go down the hall, go down the sideline."
Dude, is her mom the lady from Monsters Inc.?
her mom sounds like she crushes like
Mike
a pack of
Wazowski.
Marlboro Reds a day, and she doesn't smoke at all. It's crazy. But anyhow, yeah. So no, but I think that for Annie's perspective, I think that's what it is. I think it's the number one. She had, I wouldn't say a large family, but 4 kids, relatively close in age. So that breeds its own level of competitiveness.
Brothers.
Right? When you're fighting for resources in the home, right?
What's is it like brothers and sisters, or does she have all brothers, or what?
Her brother is the oldest, and she
Okay.
has one older sister and one younger sister.
Okay.
So there's that. You're competing for your parents' attention. You're competing for resources. I mean, I see it with my 4.
Yeah.
And then being in athletics, you're taught that. You're taught those are, in my opinion, the stuff that you learn playing Little League and sports. And then as you continue through high school, and if you're lucky enough to play and good enough to play through college and everything else, the life skills that you gain on how to be a teammate and how to compete
and how to be
win.
coachable. Coachable, I think, is the
coachable.
biggest part of it. I think that is so overlooked. But that's the 2 things that stood out for me from sports that I learned that I take with me is the being coachable. I remember my coach told me be coachable one time, and it stuck because I was being a dick in practice and I was like arguing with him. And then he sat me down and I didn't play, and it was because of that, and it clicked. But that and just the want and desire to win, the feeling of losing is so much worse than the joy of winning, in my opinion.
I am absolutely everybody's worst nightmare for any type of youth sports coaching. Because
like if you were the coach, is that what you're saying?
if I'm the coach, I have such a hard
Dave.
time dialing it back. Like I specifically did not coach my kids because I know where to draw the line. I know where my shortcomings are, and I'm the guy that would be out. I would be pushing them to the most ridiculous limits. But there have been 2 or 3 occasions where nobody would step up and coach a team, and if I wasn't willing to do it, then one of my kids wouldn't have had the opportunity to play. So I bite the bullet and I do it. And to your point, man, I was coaching youth league basketball at the YMCA, and I had a kid that didn't listen to me, and I told him 2 or 3 times, and everybody in the stands saw me giving this kid direction and him ignoring me. And I pulled the Gene Hackman in Hoosiers, man. I sat him down, and we played with 4.
Hey,
I put 4 people on the floor,
but
and
more
I didn't get
importantly, what did his parents do? Were
not
they
a
accepting?
thing. There
Right.
wasn't anything they were going to do because I'm a big boy, and I would have taken his daddy in the park. No, I'm just kidding.
But no,
Th-
it's
but-
important that parents also support that. Like you can't
It is.
be going around babying your children. That's
Right.
what's brilliant about coaching and having non-parents, somebody else's parents coaching you, is it doesn't matter if your kid is great at sports or not. All of these skills that they learn, even if you're the terrible guy on the team, but you're the team cheerleader, like you're, going up and telling everybody else, pumping them up, there's a spot for you in the corporate world. All these other things that you learn are really important, but parents can ruin that by going against what the coach says and
100%.
coddling their child.
Yeah,
I agree.
and so I started the 3 seasons that I coached in various sports. I started it out by saying, my goal is to win, but if we don't win, that's okay. I'm not an everybody gets a trophy guy. My number one goal
Yeah.
is that everybody on this team leaves a better human being first than you were when you got here. If you can take one thing out that helps you later in life from lessons you learn, I'll be fine with that. And so that's part of it. I think the same thing happens in the school system, though. That's the other issue. When you're dealing with teacher conferences and things like that, and and look, not every teacher is a great teacher, just like not every insurance agent is a great insurance agent. You got some that are good and some that are not good. But that doesn't mean that you don't support them in their endeavor of trying to get your children educated. And, unfortunately, a couple of my kids are more like me than they are like their mother. And so I end up in parent-teacher conferences or on the phone. And when I get that phone call, you can tell that teacher, is very defensive from the beginning. And I put them at ease right out of the box and say, look, I get it. I deal with the general public every day. I'm sure you have your fair share of these conversations where you are just berated for picking on somebody's kid. You
Yeah.
have the benefit of me knowing my kid.
Right.
I know my son. I know how he operates. I know who his parents are. He's just like his parents. And so I want you to know that this call is for me to understand. It is for me to understand how I can best support you. I don't want him being a distraction in the class. I want him learning. I expect him to be respectful. So you have my 100% permission to be point blank honest with me. Tell me what's going on. And then I'll boil it back and take it back and say, look, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not here to stick up for my kid. Just tell me what's going on and let's figure out how to solve the problem. We have the same objective here. And I think that's huge, man, because there's so many parents out there that think that their kid can't do anything wrong, and the first thing they're going to do is grab a teacher by the throat, not even asking any questions. Like it's just a natural instinct, and I'm not that way. You know, if my kids have to get in trouble and suffer some consequences because that's what they need from a learning experience standpoint, I'm going to let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be the helicopter parent I want them to make decisions and understand there are consequences and rewards that come from decisions. I'm not going to make the decisions for them. Even with my 19-year-old, he's like, hey, do you think I should buy this car? I don't know. Do you think you should buy the car? Why do you think you should buy it? Why wouldn't you buy it? Can you afford it? What are you going to do to make sure you can continue to afford it? Like, I want him to come to the conclusion on his own. And it drives him nuts because I am so non-committal in giving him advice. At some point, there are times when he says, Dad, I really want your advice. And as soon as he says that, now I'm going to give it to him.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm leading him to a decision or allowing him to figure it out. And you know what? I have noticed as Grayson has gotten older that by me doing that, he actually is making really good decisions on his own. And I don't have to be involved anymore, or not as much.
And
Coaching.
I will tell you, as an agency owner, and as you develop to grow your employee base and your client base, that's the exact, there's a total translation in that from early mentorship of an employee, like a young employee, and helping them come to the conclusion so that when they are ready to elevate to another role, they feel confident in their decision-making capabilities because you've taught them that and helped them come to the right thought process without being a dictator about it. So that's why I find that I talk when we're talking about, work stuff, whether it's with my, neighborhood friends or whoever, there's a lot that translates between parenting and business ownership. And it's interesting for me because I have 3 smaller kids that, now what I'm doing with my kids is what I need to remind myself to do at work, or vice versa. What I'm doing at work, I need to do. Like you saying that, it's a total reminder to me with my kids. Like, help them come to the conclusion, but don't tell them. And that is hard for me. When I see they're going in the wrong direction, it is hard for me to not jump in. But that's the way people learn and grow. And that's what we have to do as good mentors, good bosses, good agency owners.
So you asked us why we thought our wives would be successful in the insurance industry, counselor, and now it's my turn to turn the tables on you. So I'm interested in what led you to believe you would be successful in the insurance industry, number one, and number two, what advice would you give to any of our female listeners out there who are just sort of sticking their toe in the water? Maybe they're new as a producer or new as an agency principal. What advice would you give them?
All right. Well, to answer question number 1 first, I just bet on myself. I had, enough technical insurance knowledge that I just knew I could do it, that I had drive, determination, I am goal-oriented, and I have in other areas of my life. I always analogize it. I'm a marathon runner to that. If you can put one foot in front of the other and hit your plan for a marathon, that is such an analogy for life.
So would it surprise you at all that both my wife and I have completed multiple marathons?
No, and I tell people, if you can commit and make a plan, it's goal orientation.
100%.
Anybody can complete a marathon. you have to be willing to do the work to get there.
Right.
And some people can actually do it without the work, but you're going to die. You're going to die. Okay?
Well,
But
it's
do
a
the work.
well-known story that my actual last half marathon was the Disney Wine and Dine roughly 5 years ago. I was not cleared by the cardiologist to run it because I had been dealing with an abnormal EKG, which they basically have come back and just said, this is the way it is. You know, there's nothing that we need to be concerned about. I have an EKG every year. It always looks the same at this point. So they've basically said this is normal after echoes and stress tests and everything else, but I wasn't allowed to run. And so I had quit my training about a month prior. And we were over at Disney, and I got up at 3:30 in the morning to drive my wife over to the starting line. And she said, I really wish I didn't have to do this by myself. And now comes my competitive nature and my desire to make my wife happy. And I said, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do it with you. I'll complete the race with you, but I don't want you staying with me. You need to go ahead of me. You're going to finish faster, whatever else. And so I actually, it shows up in my Facebook memories every late January, early February now, where it was the Wine and Dine. So it would be coming up this month in November, this next month in November. I was taking pictures of every mile marker so that people knew that when I stopped taking pictures, that's where they should start looking for me. And because I had not trained, I had done my training as best I could up until, but I stopped like a month before the training was supposed to stop. Now, when I did my marathon training, my long run was 2 weeks before the actual marathon, and then you really taper off. You almost do nothing for the last 2 weeks, and then you're banking on your adrenaline to get you through. But I ended up, I finished the half marathon with minimal training and said, I'm never doing this again. And I haven't, but I look at it, and there's my wife went to the finish line. She could have finished, and she came back and found me. So she actually ran about 16 miles that day.
Wow.
As opposed to 13. And there's a picture,
Jeez.
and it'll be, I'll put it on social, but there's a picture of us holding hands, crossing the finish line together.
Yep, and I definitely
There you go.
think when I've met people in life who I know have run marathons, I think that says something about you. That says that you can put it. It's kind of the same what I really feel about a college degree as well. I don't think we need a college degree, but what it says is that you set
you
a
saw
goal
something through to
and
completion.
Exactly, and if you can do that, you can parlay those same desires, goals, skills, drive, discipline, whatever, into doing something bigger. So, yeah, that's where I just felt that, if I put a goal out there, I will find a way to achieve it. So it kind of helped the fear in the jumping off point. And what was your second question?
Oh, I don't remember. I thought you wrote it down. So I will ask you a different question though, since I can't remember that one, and this one's probably as much or more relevant. So what would you say the insurance industry needs to do to attract more crystals? And in your role as an agency principal / producer, as opposed to underwriter and account executive?
So I think you were asking what I think the other question was.
It was
something
advice
about,
to new people
yeah,
coming in.
Yep.
So same thing,
And
just framed a little differently.
I would say we as a whole, including myself, need to make it more apparent that, this is a great job for women that can offer, especially in the mid-market space, like your agency, my agency, where there is a lot of flexibility. So moms that don't, they want to keep working, but maybe I'm torn about my kids and I want to stay home and I'm missing out. Your kids are guilting you. That happens to me a lot. There can be a lot of flexibility. And if you prove to me or you, if you prove that you're going to be dedicated, nobody's going to be staring at you for FaceTime. Nobody's going to be like, you have to be in from 8 to 5. You can work and tailor your schedule around what works for your family. And I think that there's not a lot of other industries where you can make such a good living and be that flexible
I agree.
if you're successful. And that to me is a golden ticket for working moms. And will keep a lot of moms that might otherwise be extremely smart, extremely dedicated, and hardworking, who put themselves on the sidelines because they can't find that kind of balance. So I think we just need to do a better job of showing people that are out there and then allowing good people that flexibility and trusting people, especially in this day and age with technology. Trust has to be earned, though. I don't like when people just expect day one that,
right,
you're going to go off on your own. Some people do expect that these days, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, you get a basic level of trust, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning, you get a very basic level of trust, and how that gets modified depends on your own behaviors.
Exactly.
It either increases or decreases, and that's up to you. It's not up to me. With your answer, the other thing is it goes back to the marathon example, right? If you're a marathon runner, if I'm interviewing you and it comes up in conversation that you're a marathon runner and you were in the industry or a similar industry in sales capacity, ended up having some kids and decided you were going to take off and handle the family stuff for a while, I'm 100% confident that you're going to get your job done, right? If you can see something like 26.2 miles and know all of the daily grind you have to go through to train just to be able to complete that race on race day, I'll take a bet on you because I know you're going to be able to balance your professional life. You're going to be able to determine what your sales goal is, and you're going to have the behaviors you need to have to hit that number. You've already proven it in another aspect of your life. Those skills are completely transferable, in my opinion.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, listen, we've been going for a while. We're wrapping up. I know that we're over. I appreciate you coming on with us today. And, if I had to guess, I'd assume Crystal's already got another meeting she's going to walk directly into. So I'm going to let you go. We appreciate you being on, and probably do one more, maybe two next week to record. But this was a good one. Good session today. Kyle, take us home.
Yeah, everybody, we will catch you next week on the Power Producers Shop Talk. See you.
Yeah, he says, see ya. I say review us. Make sure you go to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us some positive feedback. Give us negative feedback. I don't care. If you can
Some
give us
sort of feedback.
Yeah, I'll reverse engineer it, figure out where you live, and come rip your larynx out with my bare hands. That's fine. Everybody have a great weekend. See ya.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.